The Earth's continents were once one enormous supercontinent encircled by an even larger ocean. The supercontinent, however, gradually disintegrated and dispersed to become the continents we see today. Scientists are undoubtedly keeping an eye on the new split that appears to be developing within the African continent. But what does this split actually mean? Are there any risks to us? Or is the end of the world near? Generally speaking, perhaps there is nothing to worry about with this occurrence. Join us in our video today as we delve deep into addressing all these concerns and more on the startling scientific finding that Africa is splitting in two. Make sure to like and comment on the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Recently, there was an uproar over a large breach in the Kenya Rift Valley. Numerous credible specialists and scientists have actively attempted to determine the reason for this strange and perplexing fissure, which seems to have suddenly appeared in the media, but has actually been developing over time. Although not new, this phenomenon is rare and could seem alarming to some people. Unexpectedly, a large fissure that covered several kilometers appeared in southwest Kenya. The crack is still growing, and it recently caused the nearby narrower earthquake route to collapse. Early cracks were associated with tectonic activity along the East African Rift. One explanation as to why this occurred is that they are goins formed by erosion. However, there are still unanswered questions regarding the origins, causes, and applicability to the split of the East African Rift. The activity along the eastern branch of the Rift Valley that runs along Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania became apparent. The 50-foot deep and 66-foot wide chasm may have resulted from a larger rifting system, but it's also possible that the region's recent high rains exposed the fracture and caused it to develop suddenly. Seismic activity, ground uplift, subsidence, the emergence of fissures and cracks, as well as volcanism, are all caused by the rifting's surface expression. But what specifically triggers rifting? When the lithosphere is under pressure from horizontal extension, it thins down and eventually breaks, forming a rift valley. Seismic activity and volcanism are two surface signs of the process that can be detected in the Rift Valley. The South Atlantic Ocean, which was created when South America and Africa split apart about 138 million years ago, is an example of a location on Earth where this has happened. Rifts, the first stage of a continental breakup, can result in the formation of a new ocean basin if this occurs. The East African Rift is regarded as an active type of rift where the circulation of the underlying mantle is the source of these stresses. Continental rifting requires extensional forces high enough to divide the lithosphere through creating a substantial mantle plume. The lithosphere beneath this rift is being raised higher, which causes it to weaken owing to the increase in temperature, strain, and breakthrough faulting. This unique hot mantle plume, known as the African superswell, has been detected by geophysical studies. The topography of the southern and eastern African plateaus, which is typically high, has frequently been attributed to this super plume as an explanation. Additionally, it is commonly acknowledged that the super plume is the source of the polar part forces that led to the development of the Rift Valley. Rifts have a unique topography made up of a number of depressions bounded by faults and surrounded by higher ground. The East African system can be seen from space as a group of aligned rift valleys that are physically separated from one another by large boundary faults. Not all of these fissures appear at once, rather, they appeared in a succession that traveled from northern Ethiopia's distant area into Zimbabwe at a mean pace of between 2.5 and 5 millimeters per year, beginning about 30 million years ago. The majority of other rifting is invisible to us. As the Nubian and Somali plates continue to drift apart, new faults, fissures, and cracks might emerge, and old faults can experience renewed activity as it gets closer to the distant region, though, the Rift Valley bottom is totally covered in volcanic rocks. This demonstrates that the lithosphere has almost entirely disintegrated in this area as a result of the lithosphere being eroded. A new ocean will be formed when this happens because magma will begin to solidify in the gap created by the split-up plates. Across many ages, the eastern edge of Africa will begin to separate from the rest of the continent by a little shallow sea. At some point, Earth will create a huge island in the Indian Ocean. There is a significant probability that this island may eventually incorporate parts of Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, and Tanzania as the rifting develops. For some time, scientists have been aware of the rifting in Africa. However, it has proved challenging to pinpoint the actual cause. Economic impact. Countries like Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo are landlocked. In the same way, Malawi and Zambia would have a coastline, while the smaller continent made by the actual tool would also include modern-day Somalia, and some of modern-day Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Tanzania, Djibouti, and the nation of Mozambique. However, depending on how the rift forms, the smaller part of the emergent countenances may drift away from the remainder of the continent, bold nations blending or uniting entirely. According to geologists, Madagascar will likely fragment into smaller islands and form a new ocean. The African Ocean, which might form in another 5 or 10 million years, will be known as the world's new continent. A country would have to spend millions of dollars on evacuation if a new coastline was built, but it would have profound benefits. Previously landlocked nations will now have access to the sea, resulting in lower costs for international logistics and the emergence of previously non-existent shipping and fishing businesses. Additionally, the nations will build harbors to connect them to the rest of the world. It should be noted that the Democratic Republic of Congo still contains a little portion of the Atlantic coastline that serves Congo and Rwanda. Kenya's Indian Ocean has been a major source of supply for Rwanda and Burundi. For its access to the sea and sea freight, Tanzania's port of Mombasa and Dar es Salaam are used. New beaches will open up a wealth of chances for economic development. More maritime operations will take place, and there may be a shorter way to other parts of the planet. Environmental impacts. If this situation persists, it will cause communities, villages, and many species of flora and animals to be displaced. Climate change will have an impact on the alterations of their environments. Some plant and animal species will become extinct as a result of environmental degradation, while others will go extinct as a result of habitat change. Finally, expanding settlements and fast urbanization will strain natural resources, resulting in a shortage of food, energy, and water. There may also be a sense of urgency in continental rifting to faults like abrupt motorway splitting. The rifting process, however, is an extremely sluggish one that frequently divides Africa without anyone ever realizing, as it takes place over millions of years. The departure of East Africa will merely add another chapter to this vast geological novel. Who knows if humanity will live to see any of these developments, but it doesn't seem too promising. Nevertheless, talking about the possibilities of the future is vital because it might arrive before humans go extinct. Even though change may seem nearly imperceptible to us in some circumstances, the Earth is a planet that is always evolving. This is best illustrated by the East African Rift or plate tectonics. Although the rifting is a very slow process, it often divides Africa without anyone ever realizing it. Despite how terrifying this sounds, the time frame is very far off. Fortunately, experts predict that the rifting process in Africa will take tens of millions of years as the crust begins to weaken and sink, and a small sea until eventually become a massive ocean, splitting the continent in two. Hold your breath if you're already in shock, since neither our generation nor the generation of our children will be alive to witness the amazing event. If you liked this video, check out the one that follows it on your screen, which explores the terrible signals the deadliest underwater volcano has sent us. Please post a comment. Please like and subscribe for more thrilling videos in the future.